Assalamu alaikum. Today the topic of presentation is structural changes, energy consumption and carbon emissions in Pakistan. So before going deep, I want to explain about abstract. So this study that we have taken investigates the relationship between structural changes, energy consumption, economic growth, financial development, trade, urbanization, and carbon emissions in Pakistan from 1975 to 2023. Our study measures both short run and long run dynamics. So, our results indicate that energy consumption, industrial value added, agriculture activities, service sector expansion, and trade significantly increases CO2 emissions in the long run, while economic growth and urbanization shows mixed effects. My findings also suggest that Pakistan's structural and economic growth patterns rely heavily on fossil fuels, which is causing environmental degradation. Policy recommendations include that we should shift toward renewable energy and also bring industrial policy which will promote energy efficient technologies and will also strengthen our environmental regulation. My research also contributes to Pakistan's environmental policy debate and it also aligns with Pakistan's vision for 2025 and 2013 for the SDG 13 climate action. Now I will give the introduction. We all know that environmental sustainability has emerged as one of the most critical challenges for Pakistan, a developing country like Pakistan, facing rapid economic expansion, structural transformation, and rising energy consumption. Despite Pakistan do have a small share in global greenhouse gas emissions, but still Pakistan remains among the most climate vulnerable nations, according to the Ministry of Climate Change in 2022. And this increases CO2 emissions by driven by population growth, expansion of industrial output, urbanization, and too much reliance on fossil fuel. Carbon emissions in Pakistan also continue to rise because the country heavily depends on non renewable energy sources such as oil, coal, and natural gas. About 60 to 70% of total energy supply is fossil fuel based, making energy consumption a fundamental contributor to pollution. Beyond energy consumption, structural changes play a crucial role in shaping environmental outcomes. Pakistan's economy has gradually shifted away from agriculture towards services, yet the industrial sector still accounts for substantial emissions due to outdated machinery, low adoption of green technologies, and poor regulatory control. Agriculture traditionally considered low emission sector, but it also contributes significantly to carbon emissions in Pakistan. This sector uses diesel powered irrigation pumps, machined harvesting equipment, and fertilizers and chemical outputs, all of which generate CO2 and methane. Trade openness is also one of the main factors. It also influences carbon emissions by increasing industrial production, expanding transportation networks, and promoting energy intensive export activities in Pakistan. Right. So today our research question and null hypothesis is that structural changes and macroeconomic factors have no significant effect on carbon emissions in Pakistan. While we also develop an alternative hypothesis, structural changes and macroeconomic factors have a significant effect on carbon emissions in Pakistan. Our another question is energy consumption has no significant effect on carbon emission in Pakistan, while our alternative hypothesis is that energy consumption has a significant impact on carbon emissions in Pakistan. I have also given a literature review of my research topic, which is also mentioned in my report, where I discussed about energy consumption and CO2 emissions. I have also discussed about economic growth and environmental degradation, and also I have discussed about industry, agriculture, service sector, urbanizations, and also I discussed about trade. In my methodology, I have taken data source and variables from World Development Indicators WDI, where my dependent variable is CO2 emissions, while my independent variables are industry value added, agriculture value added, service value added, trade and urbanized population, which there are six independent variables and I talk briefly about my dependent and independent variables. From my findings, I have found that the correlation matrix reveals two major structural patterns in how economic and demographic factors relate to CO2 emissions. CO2 is most strongly and positively associated with urbanization, where the value is 0.975, and the expansion of the service sector is 0.725, indicating highly urbanized service driven economies tend to produce the highest emissions, likely due to dense energy use, transportation demand, and consumption in cities, while CO2 shows a strong negative correlations with population size and trade openness and industry, suggesting that countries with large populations, trade, or industries oriented economies tend to emit less CO2, overall likely reflecting lower per capita emissions or the presence of more energy efficient industrial processes. Urbanization behaves similar to CO2, showing strong positive links to services and strong negative links to population and trade, reinforcing the pattern that wealthy, urban, intensive economies dominate emission profile. Meanwhile, industry and trade are closely connected, about 0.914.